What y'all listening to?
Limelight Highlight Podcast.
Welcome back to the podcast, your silver lining space to take a break from the stressful everyday. I was away last week for my sister's quinceañera in Philly and then traveled to Massachusetts to spend some time with my wife's family, the in-laws. So I was pretty busy, but we're back this week and here we are again with another episode for your enjoyment. But before we get into today's episode, let's start off the show as we do with every show with the latest of updates. The last couple episodes, you've heard me congratulate the Block Gives Back on their new headquarters, since they've been getting some things together in addition to their website, where you can learn all about their upcoming events and get yourself some Block swag, as well as make whatever donations you'd like. They now have a Block shop. Their headquarters will work as their storefront as well, and this past Saturday on the 14th, the Block Gives Back had their Block shop grand opening. And from what I hear, it was an amazing turnout. A ton of people attended and showed their support by bringing their families as well as more donations, and enjoyed all of festivities. And if you miss it, and if you missed out, not to worry, the shop ain't going nowhere, and you can still head there and get yourself some merch and maybe make a donation or drop by to say hi and see how you can get involved in some of their future events. And speaking of future events, I've also been talking about the end of the year John going down Saturday, December 21st, this weekend, where all of those donation boxes we've been discussing previously have been picked up and will be used for the 250 care packages, along with a warm meal for those in need. There will be live entertainment, as with any event, so be sure to pull up December 21st at 1 p.m. at 16th and JFK Boulevard and enjoy giving back to the community. If you find yourself in Philly, be sure to check out the show notes for the links for more information. Now for today's show. Over the past year or so, you've heard me speak about nonprofits and other organizations that are focused on helping out in our environment. Organizations like the Ocean Cleanup, where I did a podcast on how this kid, at the time, now an adult, developed technology that's actually removing waste from the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, or my interview with Humang Bourget, the creator of Water Vault device and his efforts on water conservation. I mean, we've also went over different communities, breaking world records by having a huge number of people come out and help clean the beaches of their respected areas. What else? I've talked about records being broken for certain countries planting trees and all of those other scientific discoveries that organizations are working towards to help out the environment. So to say that there's a ton of people, organizations, and communities that are concerned with the way the planet is getting treated would be an understatement. And it's actually a pretty big and serious talked about topic in our media. It's either met with people agreeing and talking about the changes we need to make in order to preserve, stop, reverse, or at least slow down the harm being done to our planet, or it's met with hostility and name calling on how stupid people are and believing that this is a serious matter and don't think anything really needs to be done. It's just a part of life. I mean, I'm sure you know the difference. I'm sure you know those two different types of people. I remember a while ago sharing a story that was shared with the podcast about a girl named Greta Thunberg. And just a quick recap on who this girl is if you're unfamiliar with the name. She's a Swedish environmental activist on climate change who's been going around the world and bringing awareness on how serious of a problem this is. She's spoken on several public platforms, to being on TV for her activism, to even speaking to political leaders in assemblies. She brings so much attention to this that she's been named Time's 2019 Person of the Year, Time Magazine. You know, with her as the cover on Time Magazine. Of course, the trolls took to the internet about this. A lot of people were actually upset, supposedly anyway. One of them being probably the biggest troll we have, the Trump in charge. I mean, President Trump. I don't like to get too political on this podcast, but today's going to be a little bit of a political podcast. It's really hard not to do that when politics comes up in damn near every topic we cover. I don't like to take sides when it comes to politics because, similar to religion, there is almost nothing you can do or that can be done to change people's minds regardless of the evidence. Some people pick a side and that's who they're going to pick. Anyway, our 73-year-old president he took to Twitter, as usual, to come at a 16-year-old girl who's doing nothing but trying to bring awareness to a cause that she believes in. And of course, the trolls followed their fearless leader to hit social media like wildfire, all upset about the 16-year-old girl who, in quotes, has no idea what she's talking about. But regardless of the trolls, Greta Thunberg, trying and successfully so, is bringing awareness to something she feels, and most scientists would agree, is a global threat. It's kind of ironic how a child is triggering all those who call everyone else snowflakes. How upset these people are. It blows my mind that this girl has been given a voice and using it for good, and these people are just upset with her. She's not calling for violence or to harm or destroy anything, unlike some people in charge. She's only speaking on how serious of a matter this is. She's citing scientific studies on our collective projected futures and the future of the planet if we continue abusing it at the rate that we're doing. My question to those who think she doesn't deserve the recognition or thinks she's just a brat who doesn't know what she's talking about is, what are you guys doing? What are you doing to make a change in a positive way? The environment or anything like that. But of course, I'm sure for an egregious amount of people, the answer would be nothing. Not surprising because, like I said before, they're most likely people who don't agree with this girl or the scientists believe the other or the latter, and they think that there's nothing wrong. And this is just the way the world works. Today's episode isn't so much on good news or a specific article that I came across. Rather, it's more about me just venting and sharing my opinion on how awesome it is that we have a 16-year-old girl who's making some serious waves and bringing some serious attention using her platform, and how she's being opposed by people's moronic remarks. I'm making some generalizations. Obviously, everyone is different and entitled to their own opinions, but these are some of the types of people that we should be celebrating. Greta, anyway. A 16-year-old girl who's making headlines and helping us have that conversation. But instead we have people celebrating a guy who mocks security officers at his rally who are walking protesters out, in quotes. It's too politically correct because they're gently escorting them out. We got a leader in this country whose call to violence is met with cheers and positive recognition, but those same people have a problem with a little girl who's passionately speaking on something she sees as a threat, and we're the snowflakes. Not like I can say I'm surprised once again, but enough of the negativity and giving attention to those types of people who are backed. And let's get back to some positive facts to send you off with. If you run into somebody who doesn't like this girl on her platform, or you happen to be one of those people yourselves, nothing against you, but here's some interesting accomplishments made by a girl who has no idea what she's talking about. Greta Thunberg staged the first ever climate school strike in August 2018. She was 15 at the time. She thought it was the best way to get attention and raise awareness, and she wasn't wrong because of that strike that she rallied together. She missed around 3 weeks of school and got the attention of the Swedish parliament, which then led her to the start of her global movement. And she practices what she preaches, in case you want to call her a hypocrite, because she's going around the world kind of talking to people. Because everywhere she travels, she uses a zero emission transportation if she can help it. She was named Time Magazine's most influential teen of 2018. She also appeared on the cover of the August 2019 edition of British GQ. And she was on the cover of ID Magazine in May 2018. Besides all of those awesome cover awards, I guess you can call them, or being recognized, she's been awarded the Amnesty International's Ambassador of Conscience Award for 2019. She's been nominated by 3 Norwegian MPs for this year's Nobel Peace Prize. And if she wins, she'll be the youngest to ever receive it. So I don't know about you, but with all these accolades and the recognition this girl's receiving, I just don't see how you can deny or even mock someone that's doing what she's doing. there are some serious names and organizations that are backing her, and I know some of them they may be just riding a wave because it's a popular thing to do, and especially in the media today, that's all people want to do is ride that clout wave. But there's just no way that this many established organizations aren't doing their due diligence and really looking into the claims that she's making. So rest easy for the Greta supporters. She's not a sham as of right now anyway, and I'm completely on board with what she's doing. I'm a huge supporter of Greta. She's making a difference in the way we're speaking, and she's changed the conversation, or at least making people have a conversation, whether you like it or not. So to those who says she's not even doing anything, she's done more in her 16 years of living than many people will ever dream of doing in their entire lifetimes. So once again, huge shout out to Greta, and keep doing what you're doing. And it's amazing to me how tribal of a society we are. You know, we've picked sides on almost everything, and I'm making a generalization once again, but for the most part, why is it that if you're a Trump supporter, you don't believe in climate change, or you don't believe in abortion, or you think we can't afford universal health care, or you're super against immigrants, or you're a Christian, or claiming to be, because that guy stands for everything opposite to Christian values, and you like your guns? But on the flip side, if you believe in climate change, you happen to want the choice of abortion, or you want free health care, or you believe everyone should have the opportunity to come to this country, or you believe that there should be a separation between church and state, and you want stricter gun laws. I mean, these are just a few of the talking points for each side, and whether or not you agree with each side, or you fall into that area where you agree with a few things on both sides, like I do, why do we continue to let these billionaires run the country when we should all have our own beliefs and support those who help represent us? Not because they're labeled in a category like Republican or Democrat, but because you believe it's the right thing to do. You know, stop picking sides with stupid parties, and start choosing those supporters who are really trying to represent the people, not those who are backed by lobbyists and big corporations. Those entities are in it for simply two things: money and power, not the interest of our general population. And it doesn't take a politician or a political party to tell you what's right or wrong. And if it does, you need to educate yourself a lot more and start looking out for your fellow neighbor or your community, because that's the only way this country gets better. I don't have listener news, but I did have an article that got shared with me from a friend and a listener of the podcast, Dave Rinaldi, just to piggyback on what we just talked about. Like I said, it's a little bit of a political podcast, but it's all about how America's political system has been hijacked and how we as a people need to take it back. And it's a cool little website. There's petitions you can sign, like Ban Lobbyist Gifts in Pennsylvania has one. There's different movements happening to help claim back our country and fight against corruption happening in all of politics. I know it might sound like a dream or something unattainable because it's been happening for so long, but with the amount of immediate information at our fingertips today, I can really see a revolution coming and some serious changes happening, especially after this presidential term. I mean, you can't keep lying to the American people and expect no one to fact check you. And regardless of your views on our president, there is one fact that remains true. He is a habitual liar. I mean, I'll put the link in the description if you happen to be interested in checking out this little website. I think it's really cool. It's a nice little video that gets you a little riled up. Not too clickbaity. I'm not trying to be that way, but with any podcast, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Am I wrong if I have no idea what I'm talking about? Or do you agree and have something to add? I love hearing these conversations because having these conversations because it's truly the only way we have an understanding on how people get to their conclusions. And maybe if we don't agree, at least we can respect and understand why they think the way they think. Regardless, if you have anything to add, whether it be a comment or critique, let me know. Maybe you have a positive story you'd like to share as well. I'm all open for it. And you can reach the podcast on Facebook and Instagram at Limelight Highlight. Or you can reach us on Twitter at Limelight at LL Highlight. Or if you want to send us an email, you can do so at limelighthhighlight@gmail.com. If you found this podcast enlightening or useful, be sure to share it with friends and family and subscribe if you haven't already. While you're there, be sure to give us a rating and maybe a review. It'll help tremendously with the podcast. And That's all I have for you this week. Until next time,